Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of TC Talk, back today with another video. And in today's video, I'm super excited because we're going to be talking about pre-release weekend for outsiders, give you some advice, some tips, some hopefully good suggestions for you, both from a new player perspective and a returning player. Whether you are a new player that's brand new to the game and this is your first set, or whether you're a returning player, I hope you have fun this weekend or this upcoming weekend with the pre-releases. Pre-release weekend is, in my opinion, the most fun time in Flesh and Blood. It is the most fun event you can attend. You get to crack open brand new packs from a set. There's not much pressure to win or lose, right? It's just to have fun. And if you win, you get some cool stuff on top of that, but they also give away some stuff in general. So definitely check this out. I'll be giving you like general advice as well as giving you like my suggestions for each class on like how you should approach it from your sealed pool, and we'll go from that. So if you like this type of content, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. If not, it's totally fine. Thank you so much for even clicking on the video. Join the Discord down below if you want a really active Flesh and Blood community. We're at almost 400 members, talking every single day in the community. It's a really good community to join. And then also, if you're a long-standing supporter of the channel and you want to support in a different way, think about subscribing to the Patreon. It's just another way to help keep the channel going and heighten the content. Tier 1 subscribers in the Patreon get a special in the Discord as well as access to Patreon member-only channels. And then Tier 2 subscribers will get my videos a day early. With the exception of videos like this, they're kind of like an ad hoc one that I have to do the day of. But other than that, you'll get the videos a day early. So getting right into it, Outsiders pre-release weekend. Like I said, this is the most fun event, in my opinion, that you can attend in Flesh and Blood, because you get to play with brand new cards. You get to talk with your community. It's not a ton of pressure, but it's also fun if you do win because you get extra fun prizes, all types of stuff, right? So I definitely think that it is one of the premier times you can experience in Flesh and Blood. I know my last pre-release that I went to was an Uprising in Vegas, and it was just so much fun. So hopefully you all enjoy it. So I want to go over the article here, and this is more so suited for newer players. If you don't care about this as much, go ahead and go to the section where you're going to see me talking in the card galleries. I'll go and open this up right now. So when you see me go to this section, that means I'm talking about the actual cards. So if you care more about that, just skip ahead. But for those new to pre-releases, we put these weekends together as a special chance for the community to get together and celebrate the release of the latest set in a casual setting with some great prizes still on the line. So like LSS says right here, it is to have fun. It is to relax. It is not supposed to be hyper competitive. It's not supposed to be stressful. It's supposed to be a get together, right? It's supposed to be a community. So stores around the city will be hosting events, catch up with your friends, meet some new people, and hopefully win a game or two. Also, if you see a doggy right here, there's a dog on my lap, so don't freak out. Meet some new people, and hopefully win a game or two along the way. The format for Outsiders pre-release will be sealed. All right, so stores have the option, right? They have the option to do a top 8 draft as well. But for the most part, your store is probably going to be just doing sealed. That's my guess. I don't think most stores aren't going to swap to that top 8 format. They're just going to keep it easy and do sealed pools. What sealed is, for those not aware, is you get 6 packs of Outsiders, and then you build your deck. You have to have a minimum of a 30-card deck, which isn't hard. That's like not even half of the cards that you get access to. And you pick a hero, and then you play your hero and play out your deck. If you don't have enough for a 30 card, you can use cracked baubles, which are basically placeholder cards that don't do anything, but they're able to just make the 30 cards. So one key note for newer players: you are allowed to switch heroes between rounds. So if you play a round 1 as a Rockney, and then you build your Rockney deck with your card pool, and you decide, I don't like the way Rockney plays, I want to play Uziri for round 2. You can do that. You can't switch like in the middle of the round, but you can switch in between rounds, right? So keep that in mind. You don't have to pigeonhole yourself into one hero. You are allowed to switch rounds a little bit. So yeah, going into it, here's the prizes. You have 2 playmats. Each store is going to get this kit. They're going to have 2 playmats, 2 Colt 4 Uziris, and 16 double-sided tokens. I'm pretty sure most stores are capped at 16 players. So I'm pretty sure. So that means if that's correct, you'll get 1 of each of these tokens, which is really, really nice. 1 Cold 4 Uziri will go to the winner, I'm assuming, and 1 playmat. And then the second playmat and second Cold 4 Uziri will be picked at random. So even if you don't win your matches, I highly suggest you stay around to the end of the day at your pre-release, because you might get lucky and get one of these Uziri or playmats anyway. So definitely do that. General advice for newer players, this isn't going to be super long because pre-release shouldn't be taken crazy serious, is a couple things. One, ask questions. If you're brand new to sealed, if you're brand new to how things work, ask somebody. Like, obviously people can't just look at your sealed pool and like pick your cards for you. Although I have had that happen, like, and I'm personally not against this at all. We've had a couple brand new players come to pre-release to try to have fun and figure out the cards and do that kind of stuff. And some of the store owners or staff, it should be a staff in my opinion, will sit down with them and like help them build their deck. I think that that's totally fine. So whether you need that much help or you just want to ask your own questions, don't be afraid to. Everyone there should be very opening and very helpful and be willing to, help you with your first pre-release. The second one is like, have fun and be patient. I know it sounds super like kind of cliche, but I only say this, and this is also for experienced players. This is me giving advice for new players and like talking to experienced players, like finger pointing, finger wagging a little bit, is like, don't take it too seriously. I had one person I played against in Vegas that was very like quiet and was like, you could tell by their deck, like they were really like trying to win every single game. They were super hyper competitive, which is fine, but like they were very rude. They weren't like kind of playing in the spirit of a pre-release, I guess is the best way to put it. Like they were playing like they were literally in the top 8 of a call-in, and which is fine. I mean, we played the game out. It is what it is. But like for newer players and for like even like somewhat new players, it's not a good play experience. It's not what they're trying to promote with the pre-release. If you want to win, you want to win. That's fine. But have a good attitude along the way. Do what you're supposed to be doing while doing it. So just keep that in mind. And then the last thing for pre-release advice for newer players is don't rush when you play your cards. Read your cards. They're new cards, new interactions, right? Like in this set, you have a lot of ponder tokens. You have blood rot. You have inertia. You have frailty. Like, make sure you're reading the cards. Make sure you understand the cards, and kind of go from there. One thing I will say with these tokens, the one piece of advice I'll give with these 4 tokens is if someone gives you one of these tokens. So if someone, let's say your opponent gives you an inertia token, which cycles your arsenal and your hand back to the bottom of your deck at the start of your end phase, right? And let's say you make a ponder token, which lets you draw a card at the start of your end phase. You are allowed to order how these tokens trigger, which is beneficial for you if you get a ponder token, because you can order the inertia token first, which will cycle your hand down to the bottom of your deck and your arsenal, and then you can pop the ponder token, which lets you draw a card. Don't pop the ponder token first, draw a card, and then pop the inertia token. So if you have multiple of these tokens on your side of the field that all trigger at the start of your end phase, you get to pick the order in which they trigger. Another one is Blood Rot Pox. If you have this and then you create a ponder token, you have no cards in hand, maybe you're at 2 life, resolve the ponder token first, draw your card, see if you can draw into a blue, so you then can pay for that blood rot pox, right? Just keep that in mind. It's a little like quick tip when it comes to these tokens, is you can order these tokens at your end phase. So yeah, so that's for the newer players. I mean, newer players definitely can stick around. I'm gonna talk about like each class and like where I think you should go. There's 6 heroes in total. The one here I'm not going to give advice on, I'll tell you up front so you don't have to waste your time with the rest of the video, is Riptide. I don't know how to build Riptide yet. I think you could build in multiple ways. You could do like heavy defense reactions or traps with some arrows involved. You could go like the more aggro route and build like Ravenous Rabble, come to fight, 6 powers, right? Like where you play a come to fight from hand, put a Death Touch down arsenal or Riptide's ability, then play Death Touch out for 9. Like you could do cool stuff like that. There's definitely like a bunch of different ways to build Riptide, but I personally don't even know the best way, so I would stick to that. So that's one I probably won't cover. But for Assassin, we have Arachne and Uziri, okay? So for young Uziri, she right? Her ability is once per turn attack reaction, banish a card from your hand face down, turn the card banished this way face up. If it's an attack action card with cost 2 or less, put the target attacking card with stealth, with keyword stealth, from the active chain link on the bottom of its owner's deck, then put the banished card onto the active chain link as an attacking card. So you have to basically play a stealth card first, like Backstab, or another one like Infect or Isolate, and then you can swap it in for other cards like a 6 power like Amnesia, right? That's a really, really powerful card in this set. Like you have to go all the way down to the generics. Like Amnesia or like Down and Dirty or, even Humble, stuff like that. So really, really powerful cards. But keep in mind, you don't have to do a 6 power like 2 cost. Those are ideal, yes, but you can put in something like a Vigilant Touch if it's in Arsenal, right? You can put something like a Death Touch if it's in Arsenal. You can't put those in. You can't use Aziri's ability with that because you have to banish it. So forget I said that. Sorry, got ahead of myself. That's for Riptide. But you can play these cards out from Arsenal with Uziri regardless. But it doesn't have to be a 6 power attack with Uziri. It can just be a different attack, right? If you want to play a stealth card and then, put in like a plunge, right? That's an assassin ninja card. It doesn't have to be. What I'm trying to say is, it doesn't have to be a 2 cost 6 power. It can be any one of these attacks. It could be looking for scrap, right? It doesn't have to be like these high profile 6 costers. However, you typically want to have those. So in a Uziri deck, you're going to want to have a good amount of stealth cards. Let's all talk about a 30 card core here. If you're running 30 cards exactly, you're going to want, I would say, at least 10 to 12 stealth cards. So if you open up your 6 packs and you have around minimum 10 stealth cards, it doesn't matter what color they are, honestly, then you're in good shape. And then, honestly, you're probably going to want the same amount of 10 cards that you are willing to, like, attack, react in with. So if you get really lucky and you get 10 stealth cards and then 10 6 powers, like, you get maybe an Amnesia, you get a Down and Dirty, both Majestics, that'd be really good, right? But then you get cards like Humble, maybe 1 or 2 Humbles, you get 1 or 2 looking for scraps. Let's say you get 1 or 2 cut down the sizes and like 1 Wreck Havoc, right? Then you're in really good shape because you're going to be able to swap those in and be able to play effectively. I think that's the best way to play Uziri. If you don't have that, then I'm not saying you can't play her. There's definitely other ways you could play her, right, with the daggers and stuff. But really, that's going to be her main play pattern. So I think minimum, you're definitely going to want at least 10 stealth cards to at least show that threat of possibly using her ability. But you could use cards like Ravenous Rabble and like other cards to kind of like fill the gaps, right? Uziri also is going to want a lot of 3 blocks because she's going to want to play off 2 card hands. So keep that in mind as well. She really doesn't care about blues. I mean, you can put blues in there for like your daggers, but like overall, like, cause you're going to get 2 spider's bites, for her. Well, she doesn't have a signature weapon. So I guess tokens, how would that work? I guess cause spider's bites considered a token for Arachne, it would be, you would get 2 spider bites for Uziri. But since she doesn't have like an actual signature weapon, that's actually a really interesting thing. Cause like if you look at Living Legend here, I don't think it's gonna. Yeah, it is gonna show it. Okay, so yeah, she doesn't have a signature weapon. She's like Shiana or Valda or Yoji. I guess she would just use Spider Bite tokens. That's my guess. Anyway, but if you get the Spider Bite tokens and you're good, you can put some blues in to be able to pitch for those. But overall, like, you can literally, if you want to, play on like 2 blues or 4 blues to use here because you're gonna be using that ability more than anything. I would probably go up to 6 to 8 just in case you want to pay up for some of those 2 costs pretty consistently, maybe 10. But you can cheat with blues a little bit on Uziri if you want to. Another good pickup is if you get one of these to help combat like some people's blocks. The Spider Bite's obviously going to affect attack actions. Nerve Scalpel affects reaction cards. Orbulocast affects non-attack action cards. And Scale Peeler affects equipment. The best one to get probably would be Orbulocast. If you can pair that with a Spider's Bite, then all of a sudden their attacks and non-attacks will get -1, which is probably what they're going to be blocking with more than anything. That people don't have a ton of equipment in limited, so you don't have to worry about that. And reaction cards is kind of situational. So Uziri, you definitely want to focus on a decent core of stealth cards and some decent 6 power attacks or less, 1 to 2 cost attacks that you can swap in. So keep that in mind. If you get a shakedown, that's awesome. It is sealed, so like you kind of get what you get, and kind of go from there. Just try to outvalue your opponent. For Arachne, it's kind of a similar thing. So that Arachne's new ability, as opposed, so the old Arachne had to do with contract and like looking at the top card of your opponent's deck. This whole set has stealth, does not have contract cards in it, does not have ways of making silver. So your first attack with stealth, each turn gains go again. So you're going to want to have stealth cards. If you open up your 6 packs and you have 14 stealth cards, you're in really good shape to play Arachne. If you open up your 6 packs and you only have 6 stealth cards, I probably wouldn't play Arachne because you're not going to get go again very consistently, and it's going to suck. And then, because if you don't have stealth card with this new Arachne, you basically are forced to play like one attack a turn, and then you're done. And there's no like fancy stuff you can do with it, really. I mean, you could get the spike with frailty tokens, but these also only target things with stealth. So again, you need like a lot of stealth cards. I would say if you to play Arachne, you need minimum 12 stealth cards. So you almost get one every turn or close to getting one every turn. Because like in a 30 card core, it's like in a 60 card core, if you have 15 of a card, you have a decent chance of getting one per turn. So in a 30 card core, you basically want 7 to 8 to have at least one a game, but to make it really safe, you want at least 12. So I think the minimum amount of stealth cards you should have for Arachne if you want to run him effectively is 10. But I would go for 12. So that's one thing. If you get good attack reactions, look for these as well to throw people off. And then finally, some good like tall attacks, like similar to Uziri, like the 6 power attacks generics. Those are really good because if you play like a stealth card for like you have a 3 card hand, you play stealth for 3. Most of the time, they're probably going to take your first attack because they don't know what's coming next, and then you play a card like Cut Down to Size or Wreck Havoc or something like that and really punish them because they just took 3 and now they're getting another 6, and those two combined is pretty much half of their 20 life total, so keep that in mind. Also, Infect cards, the ones you kind of want to look for the most are cards like Infect or Stealth cards. Cards like Infect, which creates a Blood Rot Box token. Cards like Prowl, which will buff your next stealth attack if you have another one. Sedate's really good because it creates an inertia token, and Wither. So Sedate, Wither, and Infect are like the 3 top stealth cards for Arachne because they're going to have go again and they're going to have an on hit. So your opponent's really going to have to respect you. Really good for that. So that's Assassin. That's kind of what you want to look for. Arachne, you probably want a little bit more blues. I would probably run like 10 blues in Arachne if you can swing it just to help pay for the daggers consistently and get that incremental value. Yeah. And then we go to Ninja. Ninja's super fun. So Ninja's going to have access to the 2 Kodachis. Benji will have access to his Needle. Well, is Needle in this set? Needle's not in this set, is it? Yeah, it's not. Okay, so they'll both have access to Kodachis. Keep in mind that Ninja, you have to really care about starters and blues. So in Ninja, normally when I say starters, I'm referring to like a ninja attack action, like head leads to tail. In this game, I just mean like a go again attack. So Ninja needs minimum 12 to 14 go again attacks at red and yellow, not at blue. Blue does not count. So if you do not have, in my opinion, 10 to 12 go again attacks, don't play Ninja. If you have a bunch of combo cards like that don't have like their right starter with them, like if you have recoil but you don't get a head jab for some crazy reason, even though it's a common, then it's not going to do anything, right? If you get Bonds of Ancestry, which is a really powerful rare, but for some way you don't get Ascendant Gust Wave, it's not as useful. The probability of that is kind of low because they are commons, but it can happen. For Katsu specifically, you're looking for cards, I think, like Spinning Wheel Kick, obviously the good starters. Spinning Wheel Kick, Head Leads to Tail, Be Like Water, Descendant Gust Wave, Head Jab, Surging Strike, all those starters as much as you can to put a pressure on your opponent. In a limited environment, aggro normally does really well and wins just off of sheer, like, how do I put this? Sheer tempo. But I will say look for the starters that have breakpoints because you don't want to just have a bunch of 0 for 3s. Your opponent, both of you are decking out at the same time. Having cards like Surging Strike, cards like Twin Twisters where you can buff itself, cards like Spinning Wheel Kick, it's going to put your opponent in a weird situation because then now they got to commit 2 cards from hand to block you if they don't have a defense reaction. So really, really good for that. So that's if the ideal thing for Katsu is about 10 blues, about 10 starters to 12 starters, and then trying to find at least 1 combo card per line. So if you get Spinning Wheel Kick, if you can get lucky and find Cyclone Roundhouse, you'll be in good shape. If you get Head Jab and you can get lucky and find 1 recoil and 1-2 punch, then you're in good shape. And Surging Strike, if you can find 1 Descendant Gust Wave with it, which I think is going to be the easiest to do, then you're in really good shape, right? So try to find like 2. The ideal thing is if you could find 2 starters of each, because if you do that in this situation, you're in good. So if you get 2 Head Leads to Tail, 2 Spinning Wheel Kicks, This is like an ideal thing. 2 Be Like Waters, which is 6. 2 Deadly Duos, which is 8. Even a Deadly Duo is more for Benji. 2 Ascendant Gust Waves, 10. 2 Head Jab is 12. 2 Surging Strike is 14. 2 Twin Twisters is 16. So, like, if you just get 2 of each common, you have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. We'll count Deadly Duo, 12. So I don't think it'll be too hard to get around 12 starters in this pool. The hard one's gonna be like Head Leads the Tail because it's majestic. So you're looking at 10 to 12 starters, and then trying to get 1 of each of these combo cards. And then you want to have minimum eight blues of some type of blue. You can use generic blues as long as they're 0 cost. A lot of the generics in the set are not 0 cost, but if you can find cards like even like Infectious Host, it is a 2 block, but it's a blue, and you can pitch it for Kodachis, right? That will be useful. Let's see if we have any other 0 cost blues in here. Feisty Locals, you could use that as a pitch for even Ravenous Rabble. Use that as a pitch. Red Ravenous Rabble is also really good with Ninja just to keep tempo. Blue Seek Horizon would be nice. All these 0 cost cards that are blue, you could use these for pitch if you need to, if you don't get good Ninja blues. So keep that in mind. For Benji, it's 2 power or less, baby. That's all he cares about. Getting cards like Deadly Duo is really cool because you play this at yellow. It's a common yellow for 2. They can't block anything from hand. And most of the time, they don't have the equipment to definitely don't have the equipment to block you out. So when it hits, the next attack action card with 2 or less base gains +2. So you play this into like a Be Like Water for 4. It's really good value. And you guarantee that 2 damage at the start. Cards like Yellow Descendant Gust Wave would be really nice. And then the ultimate card you want to maybe try to find is Wander with Purpose, which is the Benji specialization, which allows you basically to have a Katsu ability during your turn, which is super nice. Because if you play this card, it hits. And let's say you have a Descendant Gust Wave in hand, then you can like go get a Bonds of Ancestry and then play a Descendant Gust Wave and a Bonds of Ancestry. So that's really cool. Definitely would suggest doing that. But Benji, it's like you want to have maybe if you can swing it like 8 to 10 cards with Go Again that are 2 power or less. Like Spinning Wheel Kick, blue would be a good one to find. Head Leads the Tail obviously is gonna be nice. Yellow or blue Be Like Water. Yellow or blue Deadly Duo. Yellow or blue Descendant Gust Wave. Head Jab. Now you can run the reds. It's totally fine. You still can keep tempo by running red 0 for 3s, but you want to try to find a decent core of these. And then if you can find cards like Yellow Recoil, it's really nice because you can pair that with a Head Jab. It's basically going to force them to discard a card. They're going to take 2 damage and discard a card because they can't block from hand. So that's really, really nice. Unless it's a Riptide and they get you with a trap or something. But yeah, and then for generics with Benji, I think he's going to focus. So you can go about this 2 ways. You can do like a high-low Benji where you like poke with 2 power attacks, and then you come in with a nice 6 power, right? So like you have a 4-card hand that one's a blue, one's 2 powers, and one's a 6 power. Maybe you Kodachi for 1, you hit him with 2 powers, and then your last 2 resources on your blue, you play an Amnesia. So now you just dealt 11 damage. 4 of it was unblockable. And you're able to do some cool stuff with it. Give and Take's actually really good too because if they block it with an attack action, it allows you to cycle a card back into your deck. Humble wouldn't be too bad, but it's above a 2, so it's a little bit hard. Looking for scraps really nice in Benji, especially a blue, is really good. Any of these is really good. Like looking for scrap in Benji is probably always going to get the +1 Go Again. Really good for that. And then Feisty Locals also can be really good because if this is defended by an action card, it has +2. So you can play this for 2. It basically guarantees the hit. Or you can play it for 3. And if they try to block you with the action card, it goes to 5. Really good to close out games. Look for those 2 powers or less. You don't have to fill your whole deck with them. I would say like 10 of your cards be 2 powers so you can poke. But also have some, I think in this kind of set, you want to have some good like tall attacks that you can play after your 2 powers. I think that's a really good idea. And then also look for cards like Brush Off. and Peace of Mind, only because like Benji doesn't hit as hard as the other heroes do, and Benji kind of has to like buy his time while he whittles you down. So having cards like Brush Off, which is an instant that says the next time you would be dealt 3 or less damage this turn, prevent it. So it basically is like a defense reaction. Is really nice, and especially if they get crazy and they're using cards like Hurl, which are able to hurl a knife at you to finish the game. So Brush Off would be really nice. Peace of Mind would be really nice to use. Overall, just cards that help you. Cards that help you like prevent some damage would be really good. So yeah, hopefully that helps for Benji. Similar to Katsu, you want to have around 10 blues so you can pay for Kodachis. But yeah, that's pretty much it for that. And then we're going to go into Ranger. Like I said, Riptide, there's a bunch of ways you can build them. I really don't know. Think of what you can think to do with that. Azalea, obviously you're going to get Crow's Nest, which is going to help a lot. And Death Dealer, I would use Death Dealer over Barb Castaway. Excuse me. In her, I think Barb Castaway just doesn't quite work. I wouldn't worry about any of the other quivers. You're not going to have Tunic available, so if you do get Sunken Treasure, like, good on you. Wayfinder's Crest is actually really good. It gives you an opt when you block with it, which is really nice. Or you can look at the top card of their deck if you even want to. But I don't know why you do that. As far as Azalea, you're wanting to look for, I'd say, around 10 arrows minimum. Is a good safe bet, maybe 12. 8 is the lowest I would go. If you do not have at least 8 arrows, I would not play Azalea, because you could say like, oh, I'll just fill the gaps with generic attack actions. But then you need to ask yourself, like, is it better to just play Katsu at that point, right? Unless you're just hard selling Azalea. I would look for about 10 arrows. If you can get maybe like, most of the buffs are at rare, so you're probably not going to get a ton of them. But because there are 3 main buffs in this set, right, are at rare, and then Premeditate's a Majestic. So if you don't, and Melting Point's a Majestic, so like all 5 buffs are rare Majestics, so you might get like 3 or 4 of them. But if you can get them, you can get more of them. That'd be nice. Cards like Falcon Wing are really good and limited. It has Go Again, so if you arsenal this at the end of your turn, and then or you're able to Azalea it in at the start of your turn, and it has 4 Go Again, that's really nice. I think that's really good card and limited. Like, obviously the cards that have on hit like Infecting, Sedation, and Withering are really good, but don't be afraid to use cards like Falcon Wing. I think those are really, really nice. Yeah, all of the buffs are rare and majestic. I think Azalea can also make use of the traps. Don't be afraid to use these to buy yourself some time while you find your arrows. Definitely good for that. Skybound Shot's not bad. If it has an aim counter, it's a 1 for 6. I mean, these cold vanilla arrows, like, yes, you want the disruption arrows, but like, it's not too bad. Spire Sniping is really good. It's at common. Hopefully you get a couple of these. You can just jam them all into your deck. It gives you a double ops, basically. You're not allowed to put them at the bottom, but you're allowed to look at the top 2 cards of your deck, and that's really good for Azalea ability. Widowmaker is actually pretty decent and limited. Yes, they can block with 2 cards. But if you Azalea this in, then unless they have an equipment, they're not going to be able to prevent it, and it's going to come in for 7 at red. So that's really, really good. As far as like the hybrid cards for Assassin Ranger, I would stay away from Death Touch. If you can get a Codex of Frailty, that is fantastic. But any of the codexes would be pretty decent. Even Mask of Malicious Manifestations, which was my spoiler card for Azalea, I think would be really nice. Because it allows you to cycle basically for an arrow. So if you have a 4-card hand and you don't have an attack in your hand, you can pay 1 resource to put 1 card from your hand in the bottom of your deck and just keep revealing cards until you find an attack. So it's really good for like dead ranger hands and limited, which can happen very frequently. So this is really good for that. Toxic Tips isn't bad. If you get it, you get it. Death Touch I would stay away from. Toxicity isn't that great. You can put it in the deck, but it's not going to be that great for your Azalea. Virulent Touch, that's a Riptide card. I wouldn't use it personally. And then the traps, definitely you could use the traps again to buy your time a little bit to help yourself out. And yeah, don't be afraid to use these Seekers. Also, they're good for prevention. It just helps you, like if someone's using Hurl or Flick Knives or something crazy, definitely use these if you got it and you don't have a slot for anything else. Yeah, Threadbare Tunic actually would probably be usable in Azalea because it says destroy Threadbare Tunic, gain a resource, activates ability only if you have no cards in hand. So if you have a 2-card hand, you pitch to, or you've Death Dealer, you pitch to Death Dealer, you draw a card, maybe it's a buff, you play out the buff, you have an arrow in arsenal, maybe you have 0 resources floating or something like that because you had to pitch a red. That's actually a perfect situation. Like you have a red arrow that costs 1, and you have a red card. You pitch the red to load Death Dealer to load in your 1-cost arrow. You draw into like a Lace with Inertia, and you're like, crap, I have to pitch this Lace of Inertia to play, but I really don't want to. Play the Lace of Inertia first, instantly destroy Tunic, and then have 1 resource to fire your arrow. So it is definitely just useful for that. As far as generics that Azalea can have, Premeditate's obviously the biggest one that you want to try to find. I would stay away a little bit from all these because she doesn't like to have blues in her deck, but I think in Limited you're going to have to like chi in some blues. For Azalea, cards, so a couple of the 6 powers might be good, like Wreck Havoc, just in case you don't draw into an arrow. Cards like, Amnesia would be really nice. Ravenous Rabble's really good in Azalea. If you can get like a couple of these, doesn't matter what color, it just helps you opt more. Because when you play Ravenous Rabble, you're allowed to reveal the top card of your deck. If it's an arrow, then you can Azalea ability it in. So that's really good for that. Come to Fight's not bad with Azalea. It's just another good common buff that you can use. You actually might run into this buff more often than your actual arrow buffs. So keep that in mind. And yeah, same thing with Benji. Azalea might want to buy her time a little bit while she's getting her good attacks. So don't be afraid to use cards like Brush Off and Peace of Mind to keep your life total high enough to where you get your good attack. Yeah, just looking at this set, it's a really interesting set. There's not one particular set I think that stands out as like really, really good. I think Arachne's gonna be pretty decent if you have a lot of stealth. I'm just thinking like the ideal pool that you get for each hero. Sorry, the doggy wants the freaking time to go out. So I think that Arachne's really good if you have a lot of stealth cards in your pool. And just thinking about the ideal situation for each hero, I think Arachne's actually probably one of the more consistent ones you'll have, whereas Katsu is going to be the next one just because of the amount of pressure he can put. But overall, with a normal 6-pack pool, I think Arachne and Katsu are going to be your best options if I were to give an opinion. But definitely, you go the way you want to. That's the whole fun thing about pre-release. Me, in Uprising, I was like, I'm forcing Fi. I don't care if Fi is good or not. I'm playing Fi, right? So definitely think about who you want to play. If you don't have the deck to build it, then it sucks. But don't be afraid to force somebody to game 1 and have fun with it. So enjoy yourself this pre-release weekend. Don't take it too seriously, and encourage others. Get more people into this game. Have some fun with it. Be positive. Don't be, crazy hyper competitive. That's not the point of these events. The point of these events is to come together as a community and have fun opening a new set. So if you like this type of content, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. If not, it's totally fine. I appreciate you even watching the video. And I'll see y'all next time on TC Talk. Thank y'all so much.